So in the last video, I talked about Kobe Bryant's final game, also the Golden State Warriors getting their 73 wins, and, I've talked about how it's connected to the back-to-back theme that they've been running and whatnot, but they've also been supercoating the Cleveland Cavaliers. My thoughts are that the Golden State Warriors are going to win. There's a lot of things pointing to the Golden State Warriors to win. There's also a lot pointing to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the actual theme of back-to-back is what I'm going with. And I'm just going to stay on that, so if I'm wrong, I wouldn't be surprised. Just want to point that out. I want to point out things for both teams because they're both completely coated. I really think it's going to be Cleveland versus the Warriors again, especially considering the Democratic and Republican national conventions this year. The Republican one is in Cleveland, the Democratic one is in Philadelphia. And the Warriors are connected to Philadelphia as they were originally from Philadelphia. Anyway, on that same night that Kobe's last game of the Warriors 73, Cleveland lost to Detroit 112-110. It just sticks out because the total score, 222. I've talked a lot about the 222. Amtrak equals 222. The Warriors picked up Anderson Varejao on 222, and he was dropped by Portland, and then the Warriors picked him up 3 days later. Ton of other stuff with that, but he wore number 18, and then 18 days after 222 was 311, and the Warriors defeated Portland or whatever. Anderson Varejao wore 18, whatever. But if you go from 311 to the NBA Finals, it's a span of 2 months, 22 days, also 83 days. So I don't know. It sticks out to me for the fact that the first time the Cavs and the Warriors played this year, the Warriors won 89-83, and the second time they played was 83 days after LeBron shot 9 of 23. LeBron also shot 9 of 23 51 days before this first game, though. Pope Francis, his 79th birthday was on the 51st day of the season. Cleveland equals 51. LeBron James equals 51. Cleveland Cavs equals 51. Cleveland hasn't won a sports championship in 51 years. Anyway, what's also interesting about the score of this game, 112-110, Chicago Bulls equals 112, Pistons equals 112. They even got their 44th win. 44 has been a big deal with the the Golden State Warriors, who are on their 44th season in Golden State. Steve Kerr came back on the 44th game. A ton more to that, just interesting. It also connects to Lupercalia, the 44th day of the year. But so does the 51, because the 51, Lupercalia, the 44th day of the year, had a date numerology of 51. Anyway, also, in regards to this, the Lakers' score the other night on Kobe's last game was 101-96. If you total that score, it equals 197. So this is the stuff I'm talking about. Cleveland Cavaliers win NBA Finals 2016 equals 197. But also I talk a lot about the 219 in regards to the Golden State Warriors and back-to-back championships. Back-to-back championships equals 219. If you write out Golden State Warriors win NBA Finals 2016, it equals 218. If you write out 219, it equals 218. I mean, that's pretty strange. But want to point that out, like I said, just in case I'm wrong, and the Warriors don't actually win. Anyway, also Detroit Pistons equals 91, a number I've never seen good. I've never seen anything good happen with 91 since I've been talking about it since the beginning of September. When the actor in the movie Herbie died, Dean Jones, he died on 9/1. World War II even began on 9/1 in 39. Also, think about Will Smith, the the Saints player who just died, and he wore the number 91. It's just been a bad number. I've talked a lot about the Herbie stuff. Even in the movie Tommy Boy, in the very beginning, he drops his American history book, and the only number that's written on it is a big 239. We're in the 239th year of the United States. It's a lot like the 923 and whatnot. And then he even says Herbie Hancock, tons of other stuff, and even ties it to Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno, Penn State and Pennsylvania. Once again, Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. Anyway, in this game, LeBron James didn't play. LeBron James didn't play in Gematria equals 219, just like back-to-back championships. Kyrie Irving also didn't play, though. I've talked about how Kyrie Irving only shoots 9 of 23 when LeBron James doesn't play. But anyway, the leading scorer of this game just so happened to be a player that they picked up from the D-League on February 28th for a 10-day contract. And then I think they signed him on 3/10 for a multi-year, or at least a year. But anyway, he scores 36 points, which just seems like a lot of points for a D-League player a former D-League player to come in and score 36 points. Anyway, Jordan Mcrae is his name. We got the Jordan, talked about Michael Jordan in the Chicago Bulls. It's been a lot about pretty much killing Michael Jordan or whatever this year, with the Warriors getting their 73. Anyway, like I said, he was the lead scorer for the Cavs, but on January 26th in the D-League, he set the single game record of most points in the game for 61 in the D-League. But then it was later broken, 57 days later, by one of his teammates, basically, and he scored 65. They both played for the D-League team that's connected to the Philadelphia 76ers, the Delaware 87ers, and the teams that they scored the record points against was against the Canton Charge, which is the D-League team for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But both games, the Philadelphia 76er team lost. I have a whole video on this as well. You can even come to the blog and read the post. But Russ Smith was the guy who broke his record. He scored 65 like Philadelphia the small way. He did it 1 month, 26 days after, 126. Even if you add up the two scores, 61 and 65, it equals 126. I mean, just ridiculous. It was broken 57 days after Jordan Mcrae did this. Just sticks out because the Cleveland Cavaliers lost this game, staying on 57 wins. And then they also played Detroit in the first round of the playoffs. So just interesting that they would play the last game of the season, and then now they're going to move on and play each other in the playoffs. I don't think Detroit's going to win whatsoever because they're connected to the 91. It would amaze me if the 91 actually won. Anyway, what sticks out about that, the 57 stuff, is the 134th prime is 757. If you watch my previous video about the Lakers and whatnot, all kinds of 134 stuff, even the movie Money Monster comes out on the 134th day. It has the 923 connected to the 51 in the background. The Kansas train wreck was on Pi Day, which is 14-3. There was 341 passengers on the Chester, Pennsylvania train wreck. Just lots of 134 and stuff, but the 134th prime is 757. Just interesting, it's the mirrors of the 57. The 57th prime is 269. Pope Francis went to Philadelphia last year on September 26th, or 26/9. Last year it was also the 269th day of the year. If you write out September 23rd, it even equals 269. Anyway, Jordan Mcrae was picked up by the Cavaliers on 228, and then 3/9 was when he got his multi-year deal. But 228 to the Chester, Pennsylvania Amtrak wreck is 35 days, and then 3/9 when he was signed to a multi-year is 35 days before he comes in and scores 36 points. So interesting. I don't know, seems like he should have scored 35, but who knows. And the reason that's interesting is because the other night when the Warriors got their 72nd win, remember the score was tied at halftime, 35-35 against the Spurs. They even joked about how it looks like a college game. And then Villanova, that is right next to where Kobe Bryant went to high school, won or whatever, so they were referring to the college game. That same night, Kobe Bryant scored 35 points against the Houston Rockets, the team that the Golden State Warriors are going to play in the first round of the playoffs. So I don't know what the 35 is really all about, but just interesting, I guess, the way it connects. Jordan Mcrae, would believe it or not, look where he was born, Savannah, Georgia. That's where the Chester, Pennsylvania Amtrak was heading to, Savannah, Georgia. But it wrecked in Chester, Pennsylvania. So who knows? I mean, completely connected. That's amazing. But it was also Train 89, which, in an ironic twist that goes against what I've been saying forever, if the Cavs do win, they would have 73 wins on the season, just like the Golden State Warriors broke the 73, or they got the 73 wins in the regular season. But if the Warriors win, they'll have 89 wins. So it would connect to this Philadelphia train wreck and whatnot, or the Chester one. Another thing that makes me wonder about the Cavs winning is just because last year Steph Curry and Klay Thompson shot 9 of 23 in significant games. Curry did it against the Bulls, the game that they lost, the last game, home game they lost before the streak began. And then he did it again the night that the streak began. And then he did it again on 2-11 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was the first time he'd ever shot 9 of 23 was against the Bulls. Klay Thompson also shot 9 of 23 against the Chicago Bulls on December 5th. And that was the first time that Klay Thompson had ever shot 9 of 23 in his career. And then this year, neither one of them shot 9 of 23, but LeBron James shot 9 of 23, and also Kyrie Irving shot 9 of 23. He did it 146 days after LeBron, a number that's connected to Philadelphia. So I just can't figure out if the 9 of 23 is a bad thing for the Cavs, or if it's a good thing for only the Warriors. Anyway, if you write out 9 of 23 in Gematria, it equals 333. The number connected to Philadelphia this year. Philadelphia turned 333 years old the same day that the NBA season began on October 27th. Also the first day of the World Series, where the power went out at 9:19 and came back on at 9:23. I also thought it was interesting that 333 is 1998 in English Gematria. So I thought, I wonder if Michael Jordan shot 9 of 23 in 1998. And he actually did. He did it one time against none other than the Philadelphia 76ers. And I mean, they lost even, which is strange, you know. The Bulls lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, who scored 106 points. Remember, the capital of the country, Jordan, was called Philadelphia until the year 106 AD, and then it was later destroyed by earthquakes. You know, I've mentioned this for a long time now. You also had Obama winking at 106 in the movie I Pet Goat. Lots of interesting things with the 106. It's on the Gregorian calendar. 923 is the same as October 6th on the Julian calendar. So, interesting. Also, look, it was the 76ers' 34th game. The number I keep talking about, how it's a good thing for the 923. The Warriors even beat the Cleveland Cavaliers by 34 points on January 18th this year, 34 games after LeBron shot 9 of 23. Also interesting is on January 15th, I talked about this day in regards to Grizzly Adams' death and also Happy Gilmore and how it connects to earthquakes in Philadelphia and the falling of the Comcast Center that has the big black cube on it like the New Jerusalem in the Bible. Also, this year, the Warriors lost their first game against the Milwaukee Bucks on the 1 month, 15 days into the season, but they lost on 12/12. Pennsylvania became a state on 12/12, 229 years exactly before the Warriors lost. They also lost to Portland on 2/19, the number connected to back-to-back championships, and that was the 115th day of the season. Anyway, also the Bulls' 38th game, Michael Jordan played 38 minutes, usually a number connected to death. The Super Bowl this year was even on the 38th day of the year, and the Carolina team that Jordan is connected to lost. So since this season it seems to be connected to the 95-96 Bulls, I wondered, hey, did Michael Jordan shoot 9 of 23 in that season? Of course, he shot 9 of 23 one time, which interesting is on the 81st day of the game. Lots of stuff connected to Kobe Bryant and his 81-point game that was on 122, where the Lakers scored 122 points. I mean, Golden State equals 122, Pope Francis 122. Much more to that as well, but interesting, 81st game. The Bulls actually lost, too. It was their 72nd game, or they lost trying to get their 72nd win, and it was the second time they had lost to Indiana that year, the Pacers. Jordan was 9 of 23. So just interesting, he shot 9 of 23, but they still went on to win the finals. He also scored 24 points. Kobe switched to number 24. Just interesting. It was also 46 days before the NBA Finals that year. Chicago equals 46. Philadelphia equals 65 the small way. So once again, connected to Philadelphia. And remember, Michael Jordan's last game ever was against the Philadelphia 76ers. Interesting, the score even, 87 to 107. Earthquake equals 107. I've also talked about Will Smith and whatnot. Maybe I'll make a video on it. I do have a post on it, but King Charles equals 107. If Queen Elizabeth dies, then Prince Charles will become the king. Whole bunch of other Prince Charles equals 131. If you write out 131, it equals 107. West Philadelphia is where Will Smith was born and raised and whatnot. He's the Fresh Prince. So just interesting. 107 connects to Earthquake, and it also connected to the royal family. But I mean, look, the Philadelphia 76ers stayed with 34 losses because they won. The last time it was their 34th game. This time they stayed with 34 losses. Also 87, the number I talked about, connected to the 219 and Pope Francis. August 7th, 8-7 is the 219th day of the year. Also, August 7th is 87 days after the Philadelphia train wreck last year. If you go from the Philadelphia train wreck to Pope Francis's birthday, a span of 219 days. If you go from 8-7 to Pope Francis's third anniversary as being Pope, span of 219 days. I mean, just crazy. Also, 8-7 leaves 146 days in the year. 146 I've talked about a lot in regards to Philadelphia. Anyway, look at this game. Michael Jordan's final game. Look who his teammates are. Tyronn Lue, the Cleveland Cavaliers coach, the guy that they picked up after they fired David Blatt after 143 games, 122 days before his birthday on 122. His birthday is on the 143rd day of the year. Tyronn Lue even shot 300.333. Philadelphia is in the 333rd year this year, on the day that the NBA season began. Talk about, planned for years. No way. That is absolutely crazy. Tyronn Lue played for that team. So anyway, I wondered if Michael Jordan had shot 9 of 23 during this season as well, his final season, and he shot 9 of 23 one time. He did it against the Denver Nuggets. And look, they stayed on 34 losses. I don't know what the deal is with it, but it's super connected to this 34. It even shows that Tyronn Lue played 34 minutes in this game. And once again, shot .333 3-point percentage. I mean, just super interesting. Another 3-3-3 plays 34 minutes on they stay on 34 losses. His debut in the NBA was on 2/11 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, which just sticks out because last year, and also the last time that Steph Curry shot 9 of 23 was on this same day, 2/11 against the Timberwolves. LeBron James also shot 9 of 23 this year, the first time 211 days before the NBA Finals. And then he also did it 146 days before Kyrie Irving shot 9 of 23 on 3/29. Like I said, though, 146 connected to Philadelphia. Larry Brown equals 146. Allen Iverson equals 146. You even had John Calipari, I believe, on Lupercalia this year when he got thrown out of the game in South Carolina after 146 seconds. There was a Philadelphia car wreck. I can't remember what it was, but there was something to do with Philadelphia, or 146. Anyway, Irving did it 65 days before the finals. Philadelphia the small way equals 65. Also sticks out because of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I talked about the Teen Wolf stuff and how, Zach LaVine, the Teen Wolf, won the slam dunk contest in 2015 or whatever, last season, and then he won it again this year. But also last year, another Teen Wolf, Andrew Wiggins, won the Rising Star Challenge MVP. There was a Teen Wolf theme. In the movie Teen Wolf, they have a bunch of Nebraska Cornhusker stuff in the background. Nebraska Cornhuskers equals 222, just like Amtrak. Tyronn Lue played for the Nebraska Cornhuskers in college. He's also the guy, though, in the NBA Finals when the 76ers won Game 1 against the Lakers, I think 2001. Allen Iverson stepped over Tyronn Lue. It's a huge play. Tons of people talk about it. It's one of the classic plays or whatever. You can find it on YouTube. But Allen Iverson stepped over Tyronn Lue. So interesting. And I mean, doesn't it just seem weird? Tyronn Lue played for the Lakers and he played with Kobe Bryant in the beginning of Kobe's career. And then he plays with Michael Jordan at the end of Michael Jordan's career. And now he coaches the Cleveland Cavaliers, who this year is all about pretty much the end of Kobe Bryant and the end of Michael Jordan. I don't know. Seems pretty strange to me. So anyway, back to the Pacers-Chicago Bulls game in 1996, the only time that Michael Jordan shot 9 of 23, the year they got 72 wins. When the Pacers won, they got their 51st win. So just remember the Cleveland Cavaliers, a lot about the 51. The 51 also connected to the 923. So I just don't know, like I said, if the 51, since it's being connected to the 923, if that makes it bad or good. There's a lot of stuff pointing to the Golden State Warriors to win back-to-back championships. But this 51 just, I don't know, really sticks out. The Bulls also played the Pacers that year, or this same year. They played them on their 51st game. So the Pacers get their 51st win. Then the Bulls beat them on their 51st game. That just so happened to be on the 49th day of the year. Remember, if you write out 219, it equals 218. It's just a weird twist how it's all connected and interrelated. Michael Jordan even scored 44 points this game. The number connected to the Cavs, I keep saying the Cavs, but the number connected to the Warriors. Steve Kerr came back the same day David Blatt got fired on the Warriors' 44th game. They're in their 44th season in Golden State. It also made the Bulls 46-5, so they got their 46th win. Chicago equals 46. I mean, how ridiculous. Anyway, the Bulls defeated the Seattle Supersonics this year in the finals, the year they won the 72 games. Interesting that Seattle Supersonics equals 69, just like Cleveland Cavaliers. Chicago Bulls equals 49, just like Warriors. And I went through all the players on this team. None of them shot 9 of 23 except for Gary Payton. It was on their 23rd game. The Sonics lost that game as well. So they lost with the 9 of 23. Also interesting that they lost to the Vancouver Grizzlies, the team that the Warriors just broke the streak of, the Bulls, 73 games or whatever, against the Grizzlies. So interesting, the Seattle Supersonics lose to the Grizzlies, who even have a 4-21 record after this game. In this season, 4/21, 1996 was the 112th day. Chicago Bulls equals 112. And remember Curry, the first time he ever shot 9 of 23 against the Bulls beat the Warriors. It was the last home game loss they had before their streak began. Like I said, he did it the next home game and they won, and then they won against the Timberwolves. The first time that Steve Kerr ever made it to the playoffs, he was a Cleveland Cavalier. And go figure, he lost to Philadelphia. So it just makes me wonder. I think the 9 of 23 stuff is actually not a positive thing for the Golden State or the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's only positive if it happens to the Golden State Warriors. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm seeing it. Even in the Spurs game, when they got their 72nd win, they showed that the Spurs were 9 of 23 shooting in the first quarter. Then the Spurs ended up losing. But truly do wonder what the whole point of it is. You know, they code these sports to other events that are more significant, you know, like the assassination of a president or an earthquake or just any type of other significant thing. I just wonder what the real actual plan is, you know. I mean, there is a lot of stuff pointing to earthquakes that I've pointed out for months now. So who knows if there's more earthquakes on the way. I've talked a lot about an East Coast earthquake that connects to the 58 and the 85 and also Back to the Future. So interesting, you know, a lot of stuff pointing to Obama, Trump, Pope Francis, and even the royal family. So I don't know. We'll see. Just wanted to point out some of this 9 of 23 stuff. It's pretty interesting. And I mean, it's amazing how it all fits together, you know. Tyronn Lue plays with Michael Jordan on his final game. Absolutely ridiculous, but whatever. Have a good one.